What if SCEPTILE was in Gen 1 OU? One of my favorite starter Pokemon of all time. In fact, when I was a kid, way before I had any Pokemon game, it only had the anime, there was only two Pokemon that I was obsessed over. And that was Charizard and SCEPTILE. And in Gen 1, SCEPTILE has a lot of really interesting features. It is one of the fastest Pokemon in the tier, tying with Alakazam. It has a pretty good special. It has a very interesting signature move, Leaf Blade, which in its original generation was 70 base power, but has a high critical hit ratio, which means that Leaf Blade is basically Slash, but it's special, which SCEPTILE prefers because it has a much higher special attack. And, this is the important part, it always crits. That's huge. And SCEPTILE even has other moves like Sword Stance, Earthquake, Hyper Beam that he can use. That would make it even better. Now before I start, it is very important for you guys to know that I'm doing this video now because, well, I got bullied by one of my Twitter mutuals. And I would tell you to follow my Twitter, but I go on private a lot. So do you know where else you can bully me to get your favorite Pokemon mentioned in a video? My Discord server. Every day I'm always talking to you guys there. We had a lot of fun. And then today in particular, we did a lot of messing around. Not to mention I explained a lot about myself when I used to be on Amino when I was younger. A lot of, crazy and wacky stories there. So be sure to stop on by. I'd love to have you. As for SCEPTILE. Now, I already talked a bit about the moveset and the stats, and even with like the two obvious ones being its special and its speed, 85 attack is, I would say, decent. Like, not that 85 is bad, but it's kind of mid if you don't have stab, since most of the moves you'll be using will be Earthquake or Body Slam, etc. But luckily, that's why he has Sword Stance. And Sword Stance, as you can imagine, is great. And while I didn't go over it, he doesn't have Slash? That's weird. Okay, never mind, I don't feel bad for not going over it. But other than that, like some moves he can take advantage for his physical attack would be Body Slam, Earthquake, Double Edge, Hyper Beam for the most part. And unfortunately, outside of Leaf Blade, the only special move he can really take advantage of is Thunder Punch. Which, unlike when I did like Grovyle for Gen 7, not Gen 7, Gen 1 7U, I don't think SCEPTILE can get much use out of the move. Because in 7U, you got Pokemon like, Golbat and Tentacool, which are weak to Electric. But what's weak to Electric in Gen 1 OU? Slowbro, Starmie, Cloyster. Like, that's just use Leaf Blade. It's gonna hit a lot harder too. Not to mention, the only flying type that's like really relevant will be Zapdos, which will just take it neutrally. And with Zapdos' high special, obviously Thunder Punch won't do much. Granted, you will see the occasional Articuno or Moltres. And I didn't do the calc, but I have a really strong feeling that Thunder Punch was not gonna save you. It really wasn't. But I don't think it matters too much, because everything else I think would just work a lot better. Like, I think this is probably your standard set, which is Sword Stance to boost your attack. Then you have Earthquake for like handling Gengar, or just make consistent, damage, and Hyper Beam for KOs. And for everything that, like else pretty much, you're just spamming Leaf Blade. To be honest, even against resisted stuff, like spamming Leaf Blade isn't like the worst thing. The only thing that really, truly doesn't care, I would imagine, would be Executor, maybe Zapdos. And even then with Zapdos, I would imagine Leaf Blade, at the very least, would do decent chip. But some other options would be Agility, which you would use if you really just want to make sure you no longer have to worry about paralysis. Because, like, if you're able to outspeed stuff like Jolteon, that's pretty huge. I don't know how important it is, especially with Jolteon and Zapdos kind of being on the decline. But maybe. You also got a Leech Seed, being the fastest Leech Seeder. But that was weird to say. Either way, being the fastest one in the meta, that has its advantages. You can probably not get too much out of it. I think the moveset here is probably for the best, but you never know. Toxic and Substitute probably aren't worth it, same with Rest, because while you're way bulkier here than in any other generation, like, you're still gonna take stuff pretty hard, especially when it's a ice move or it's like a physical move. But speaking of ice moves, it's pretty good to know that, unlike in other generations, you don't just immediately die. So that's a good, unique, gimmick that Zapdos only has here instead of anywhere else. I think I said it's Sceptile wrong, but who cares? We'll just get on to the replays. We always start off with the boy himself, Tauros. And a really good thing for Sceptile here, but Leaf Blade is a 2-hit KO. Well, I would imagine Blizzard's probably 2-hit with range, but for the most part, it might as well just be a 3-hit KO. But it still could go either way, and I would imagine a critical Blizzard would in fact paralyze Sceptile there. But I almost wonder if Body Slam's better just for the paralysis chance. I'm not sure, let me know in the comments. As for Snorlax, Snorlax is a lot bulkier, which is bad, because you just barely don't get a 2-hit KO. So depending on the moveset, Snorlax can just tank the damage and kill you. So like a physical Snorlax can probably will kill you. Amnesialax, ironically, I think loses really badly, because Leaf Blade will just ignore the crits. And I'm pretty sure, or if Snorlax gets single Amnesia up, then Ice Beam probably could just KO Sceptile there. So maybe it isn't that bad. Maybe Snorlax wins that? I don't really know. Either way, it probably wouldn't be worth it, no matter what, if you are Snorlax. Even there. And for here, it's pretty tough for Sceptile, because not only does Ice Beam 2-hit KO Sceptile, but Chansey also does a lot of damage with... I already said it does damage Ice Beam. I mean, gets its speed crippled with Thunder Wave. So Sceptile kind of needs to get a Sword Stance up so it can do good damage to Chansey, but it also needs to, get Sword Stance, to a KO Chansey. So it needs to do all of this without having to worry about getting paralyzed or being killed with a ice move. So overall, it's just really not working out. And sorry if I seem a little bit distracted. At the moment of recording, there was a ladybug just crawling on my laptop, so I was trying to get it off. Yeah, and I think I killed it. Crap. Alright, whatever. Let's just get on to the next replay. And then this one is Alakazam. And like I said before, these two have the exact same speed, so it's a huge could go either way. Alakazam will always get a Thunder Wave off. So here's one of the examples where I think that, agility is really useful. But Body Slam could also potentially get a paralysis on Alakazam as well. Either way though, I still think could go either way, it's the best way to describe it. However, maybe more so in Alakazam's favor. But it's probably just a situation where neither one of you really risk the encounter anyways. And then with Cloyster, are you surprised? Are you really surprised that Leaf Blade just murders? You're probably not. So I think we should just get onto it. And then we have Executor. And this is also not surprising for the opposite reason. Even if Sceptile gets, a paralysis, and he gets a lot of free turns in, gets crits, but what does it do? It has no way of harming Executor at all. Executor can just sit there. Even if it loses some turns or paralysis, Executor will just kill you anyways. So, yeah, even if Sceptile would be really good, I think Executor would still be the best grass type in the format, which I don't think any of you are surprised by. I really don't. And then with Gengar, you have Hypnosis, but Sceptile's faster than you. It is murders with a crit. And because of his 120 base speed, he crits a lot. So Gengar just doesn't risk it. Especially when it doesn't have any, like, poison moves it can actually use against Sceptile. So, yeah. And then Jolteon's weird. It's faster, so it can paralyze you, but then it has no way of actually damaging you after that. Now look here. This is going to be a pin missile that hits 5 times. And keep in mind, Sceptile has base, 65 defense. And Jolteon has max attack in Gen 1. And that's how much pin missile did. And keep in mind, pin missile's also like 85% accurate. So, I know it's tempting if you're like a newcomer, but it does not matter what the situation is. Pin missile will always be bad. Even if pin missile hit 5 times on Executor, it would be garbage. Even if loaded dice was in Gen 1, it would be slightly better off-ish. But I would still say that all of the rank of Jolteon's moves would be better. And you cannot tell me I'm wrong. I mean, you can, but then you would just be wrong. And then with Jinx, a critical Hyper Beam could kill Jinx, but I really don't think you want to risk it. Maybe Jinx probably does risk it though, but it's interesting. I would still be I'll be like a fool to, put this in Kukui either way. It's definitely a bad matchup, but it's definitely one where you can get lucky. And if you're bold or crazy, you might be able to win the matchup. But dear Arceus, Lord, I will not suggest it. And then with Rhydon, this one's unfortunate, but you just don't really have a way to just hurt Rhydon. And Rhydon has a consistent 3-hit KO with Fire Blast. So you can paralyze it with Body Slam, you can use Leech Seed, but the Rhydon's just too tanky. You really wish you had a super effective stab move you can use on Rhydon. Like if Zapdos, or not Zapdos, if Sceptile had Razor Leaf, maybe it could 2-hit KO Rhydon. But for the time being, Rhydon's Fire Blast, it's just too powerful. Like there's nothing you can do. Just how it is. Alright, on to the next one. And now we have Starmie. And this is the second replay I did. Technically, Leaf Blade is a damage range, so Starmie could be left at like 5 HP. So, it doesn't really matter too much, because even if Starmie uses a, like a Thunder Wave or gets a Blizzard off, Sceptile will just be able to kill you. And you saw how, like a Stab Blizzard from Jinx didn't kill Sceptile. Do you really think a Blizzard from Starmie will? No. So Starmie will just not risk it. This is one of those cases where I feel like Sceptile would change the meta way too much. Because if that's how much it does to Starmie, like the 4th best Pokemon in the game, the best Psychic type, and then Sceptile can just casually OHKO it, yeah, that might be a sign we're going too far. But then again, it also sounds awesome. And I would love to see Sceptile great in an OU generation that isn't just decent in its original generation. Now with Lapras, I was curious. It's a 2-hit KO on both sides. It's definitely could go either way, but a little bit more in Sceptile's favor? Question mark? I don't really know. I was also considering doing Articuno, but I figured I didn't really need to see a Thunder Punch barely do anything on 125 special Blizzard OHKOing Sceptile. But if you really want to see that, let me know. I will make that replay if we get this channel to 300,000 subscribers. And then last but not least, we got Zapdos. And see Thunder Punch there? It's just not good. It's really not. Even Hyper Beam doesn't really do that much without a crit. And even like if you had a Sword Stance boost, it looks like Sceptile still couldn't really threaten Zapdos. Yeah, that's sad. But whatever. Here's the tier list though. I think it's pretty accurate. I don't think there's anything here that I'm missing or anything I'm wrong at. I think it's just flawless. But what do you think? Do you think SCEPTILE would be broken in Gen 1? Or do you think it would fall off? Or do you think it would just not be good at all? If for some godforsaken reason it wasn't good enough for OU, how long do you think it would take before it gets banned from UU? And if it did go to UU, would it be more broken than Lapras? Let me know in the comments below. Also, I'm wrong, the Ladybug is still alive. Let's go. I need to stop getting distracted. And until next time, this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.